Happy Halloween! Wait, this comes out November 2nd. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Doujinshi, and welcome to another episode of Hentai Reviews, the series with a actual functioning fucking schedule for once in my life. So you're probably asking yourselves, I wonder what we're going to be talking to today. Wait, wasn't it one of his previous videos one that focused on a series that had a 1 in the title? And yes, there was a second episode. So, welcome back for episode 2 of a little series called Boku ni Sefure da Dekita Riyuu 2, otherwise known as How I Made a Sex Friend, episode 2. See, this is a bit of a glow-up, actually, and I am actually happy to talk about this one because I was not happy to record, but I was definitely happy afterwards. You see, this one, as by the previous episode, was done by our friends over at Bunny Walker, running at about 16 minutes and 12 seconds total, with a total of 12 categories, notable of which are NTR, MILF, and Booba. Now, I don't know about you, but that is the wholesome experience in the United States. As far as I'm concerned, all y'all fuckers search the same 4 things in Pornhub. Stop searching up stepsisters. I am tired of seeing that on the front page every time. So in that case, let's go ahead and get into why we're all really here, really? So let's go ahead and transition, shall we? Plot synopsis of this entire episode really boils down to what could you fit into 16 minutes that could actually advance the plot forward and maybe even strengthen the characters while also showing everybody what sort of goods everybody came here to see. Now, I can't really speak for a lot of people when it says it hits a right amount of spots when it comes to plot development, but I can damn say it does hit in character development. You see, the plot of this episode itself goes with the main 2 characters, Anan and Hitomi, really slowly starting to actually get a little bit more of their relationship going. Because of the first episode, there was really only 1 or 2 scenes of them actually getting to, know each other. And then it kind of progresses forward with them slowly getting more comfortable with each other, all the way into episode 2. Episode 2 itself shows off more of the dynamic of them being together more often, but also being together more often. With them being more comfortable, them being more flirtatious, and them being more risky with each other, while also showing the crumbling development of the main character, Hitomi, slowly falling apart with her out-of-scene husband, who does show up for exactly 1 scene total, just to show off that he is forgetful and often works a very long hours of his job, leaving her to be lonely for all the time that she's there. Not necessarily a strong plot, more like a filler in between that shows off the main character and the secondary main character. I'm calling Anan the secondary main character because, God, this girl has personality, and those bitches are double D. Now, I can safely say she has personality outside of her boobs, by the way. That really just shows off that you can actually see her development in the way that she pushes forward the narrative in her own sense. She is slowly crumbling around them, asking the husband, hey, what's tomorrow? And he says, oh my god, I forgot our anniversary, and then stumbles around the idea, only to reveal that it is her birthday, where the main character, secondary, Anan, actually remembers it's her birthday, not their anniversary, and gives actual genuine care to them, with scenes of them getting more intimate in much more creative ways, much more vivid and much more honestly freaky ways. Like, I just want to say it straight out. This girl is a little bit dirtier than I thought, and I honestly wasn't expecting it from a hentai, with the girl being the one who plays with main character secondary, Anan's nipples, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I respect the fact that they made the girl the one who goes in for just like, oh fuck yeah. That's just a little tip that makes it so much more beautiful when it's fully there. And I can safely say this would be perfect if the NTR tag wasn't there and the husband didn't exist, and it would just be them, just like her unloading all of her aspects onto him. But then there's the spice of having a husband who's not around, mostly because it helps the characters really feel the need of like, we should keep this secret, but also there is this thing between us, and it's an unhappy relationship. So I would honestly say this plot is not a great overall, but it is a perfect middle of the sandwich. This is the fucking meat, tomatoes, and cheese. It's not the best part of this, it's the best part of the sandwich while also being just good. But it doesn't make the full sandwich. So I'm going to give the rating for it right now. The rating for this one is definitely a flat 7 when it comes to the story. Like, that shit is good. Now, let's go ahead and get into the actual scenes themselves, shall we? Now, what most people are really here for is the plot and how it is perpetually used throughout what is known as the hentai medium. What's really here is the reason all of you have your pants down, a hand really smooth, and the other hand usually has never seen lotion before in its life. So, today, we're going to be looking over the total of 4 scenes, which you can clearly see behind me if you decide to skip this part immediately because you don't like my sultry voice or perhaps the dulcet tones I can use to soothe your wretched souls. But, you're not gonna. Because let's get into this. You see, scene number 1 starts off with pretty much almost the beginning of this episode with the main character and the secondary main character, both in the midst of the throes of passion in the beginning, with both of them in their little bed while it's dark outside, and then somebody said, "I want you to eat it from behind," and you want to know what happened? The girl wasn't the one who said that, so we get the main dude on his knees and her in the back with a rubber dam and a tongue ready to work. Also, this is the part where you get to see her play with his nipples, which is a cool role reversal, and I genuinely like it, and there's a little bit of a freak nature to it that doesn't really show off like actual freaky parts, but it's something that goes above vanilla, and you don't expect it from something that doesn't have the actual plot relevance or the tags to go around it, which, hidden surprise, who would have guessed? Which scene number 1 goes from 1 minute and 15 seconds all the way to 3 minutes and 15 seconds. A good 2 minutes total of the first just introduction from this 16-minute plus episode. Now, on to scene number 2. Scene number 2 is probably my favorite of the actual episode itself, because scene number 2 comes from a very carnal experience in the main characters' kind of interactions. You see, between Anan and Hitomi, out of nowhere, they meet together, and then Hitomi walks past, Anan walks up behind her, and then just gives her a big hug, and then just starts dry humping her immediately. This is on a balcony, mind you, in I'd like to consider a smaller apartment setting, which is very, ballsy for the main character to actually do. And it's very public for somebody who's in an active cheating relationship, a sex friend on the side. But it also has that draw because of it. Now, scene number 2 is probably the most raw and probably the most like, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. Fuck me harder. That is what I like about it. And it's that sense of like, this needs to happen right now, which is so goddamn good. I love it so much. Scene number 2 goes from 3 minutes and 30 seconds and goes all the way to 6 minutes and 25 seconds. Totaling about, quick math right now, 2 minutes and 55 seconds, which is longer than the next, and God, it needs it. It is the best scene in this thing. Not necessarily saying it's that much better than a lot of the other ones, because some of the later ones, they just hit a little hard, which goes into scene number 3. Now, scene number 3 kicks in after the scene that had just shown off that Hitomi had not had her birthday remembered, because then Anan does remember, gives her a little piece of cake, and then shows off like, hey, I baked this for you even though I don't know how to bake. She's in such a loving understanding of it that she decides we need to be together tonight, which was already in the plans, but I don't know. Makes it more special, I guess. Scene number 3 has probably the most emotional draw to it because it's such a compassionate way of like, hey, I appreciate you. This isn't just like, call me up on your cell phone if it's late at night and you ain't got nothing to do. This is genuine and it's very calm and peaceful, and I just... chef's kiss for the heart. Scene number 1 was for my brain to be stimulated. Scene number 2 was for my dick to just be ready. And scene number 3 was for my heart to just, the passion, the sweetness, the love is really there. Scene number 7 goes from 7 minutes and 25 seconds to 10 minutes and 50 seconds, going at 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Longer, but sweeter. And that's what we're here for. To get your heart a boner. Now, moving on finally to the last scene in the actual episode of the 16 minutes. Well, 4 scenes at more than 2 minutes apiece. That's pretty good. Scene number 4 is the final one that actually ends on the credits, showing off that there's been a slight push forward with them being like, we cannot do it at my house anymore because I treasure this relationship so much. I want it to be done in a safe place, which it's kind of a scary thing because now you're leaving a paper trail on where you're going when your husband's not there. So expect that in the divorce case. Now, scene number 4 takes place in a love motel that I forgot to mention in the beginning. Yes, there is a love motel that they go to at the very end where they have a final last bit of passion before the episode ends. Now, this one is probably the least notable because, well, you blew your load on scene 2. If you've seen it, I know what you did. Now, scene number 4 goes from 12 minutes and 10 seconds and goes all the way to 14 minutes and 20 seconds. 2 minutes and 10 seconds, it's not super bad. It's the second shortest one that we have. I mean, out of 4. But it feels like a good wrap-up that shows that we're going to push forward to the third one, which I feel like should be the final episode, just thematically, unless there's a new arc you decide where one of them gets a power-up or something, but it doesn't feel like it needs more than that. The third episode should be the either confronting the husband, and the husband just says, I understand, I haven't been here, I'm done. The husband is either cheating, and then it just pushes forward, but this is just a good final send-off as the episode ends, where they end in a loving embrace, and then just click. Done. Now, what can I say about the plot? Honestly, I would give it probably one of the higher scores that I could, with the actual plot of it coming in at a surprisingly 9 out of 10. The first one, just, there's a coherentness to the actual scenes themselves that just really makes me just fully invested. I was fully clothed for most of this, and that second scene was pushing that hard to be like, okay, get in the mood. And fuck, 9 out of 10 does this so good. If it was just that one extra tag, that could have made it perfect for me. But unfortunately, just girls and guys. Could have used more guys, honestly. And finally, the animation. Now, what can I say about the animation of this? Why did I say animation last? Why am I doing animation last? Because I'm trying a new format for how to make these videos, and this feels a little bit more coherent, but it also feels unpolished because this was normally the first thing, and, you know, don't worry about it. It'll work itself out by the next episode. Now, you see, the animation in this is not necessarily great, but it's a second episode that is competent throughout, which is very hard to get sometimes. There are ones that have been, you know, really pushed forward in the beginning that slowly get those ways down. You know, those 45-minute ones that are actually compilations of like 6 or 7 minute shows that have just all pushed into one full season. The first 2 are good. Everything else past that just slowly dips in quality. Overflow is a good one. It's a little bit longer, but the first scene of it has god-tier animation. And Amber Hunter, to a lesser extent, that one stays more consistent throughout. But this one is a second full episode that's not compilation built, that stays consistent to how well it's done. There is genuine scenes of this that actually have smooth animation. There is some looping here and there that shows off like one specific scene, but hey, most porn has that anyway. But there's very few of it, which is very noticeable, but it is looped pretty consistently throughout it, and it's not strong, and I am trying to be harder on animation, because when you love something very much, you want to see it flourish, so that's why you got to be a little bit meaner sometimes. Now, I will recognize this as above average, and consistently above average, so I will give it a 7 out of 10 total for the animation. Which is good, above average, very much a passing grade, but not necessarily, you know, special in a lot of ways, which sucks, because if the animation were just as good as the scenes themselves, this is a banger of a motherfucker. Okay, let's go. 7 out of 10. Now, let's get to the closing remarks. Closing remarks for this is what I'm going to be doing for my finalization of everything that's here. Now, after adding everything up and clearly being able to see what I rated it already, I would give this secondary episode an 8 out of 10. A good, if not great, sequel to the first episode, which first one was, it had straws. It was very average across the board for a lot of it. Nothing really special, nothing that blew my pants off or took my socks away with them, but very average. Like, I wouldn't have looked a second time at it. But the second episode really just drew me in. It felt like there was plot that was well worked on, but still understood that they had a limit of time where they could develop these characters. So they really put that into the passion behind the actual scenes themselves. And then finally pushing itself forward with very competent, but obviously a limited budget when it comes to the animation. Overall, this comes up to an 8 out of 10. Not because anything drug it down, but that it consistently stayed above average, except for where they couldn't fit the rest of it. So they put all of it in to the actual plot. And damn it if they didn't do it good. I want to rate this so much higher, but fuck, the math adds up. 8 out of 10. Trust me, it is well worth your time. Watch the first one for context. You can have it playing while you just decide to, like, I don't know, have a secondary tab in the background. Do whatever you want, but watch the second episode. It's so good compared to the first one. I don't know how to say this without sounding pretentious or overvaluing something that's obviously just meant for you to jerk your everything off to, but fuck, it's good. There's so much passion behind the sex that makes it feel like it's actually there, the way that it's structured. Fuck, it's good. Go out and watch it. Actually have, if it's better when you have the context of the first episode, the second one is so good though. Believe me, trust the hot dog man. He's trying to help you. And that's where we're going to wrap it up for this episode. Great sequel. Go watch it. And I guess that's where we're going to do it for today. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you everybody who's been stuck around for this long. Thank you everyone so goddamn much. If you like more of these videos, subscribe. I'm starting to have a more regular schedule, and I'll be keeping these up as I go. Thank you everybody. I will see you later. So remember, have a nice day. Don't be a dick. There's too many of them. And wash your fucking hands. I've been the Doctor. Peace.